My nutrition lecture typically is about 2.5 to 3 hours long. Amy says I couldn't have that long to stand up here and talk to you. It's probably better for you. So I had to look at my entire nutrition lecture and say, what are the 2 things that are most important for young people? Where are they being steered wrong? And I think one of the big things was sugar. We're eating way too much sugar. And then the second thing was sleep. And interestingly enough, on sugar, Dr. Lustig gave a beautiful presentation. He talked about the marketing, in the way the coal companies or the oil companies market themselves as clean and trying to reach out to the community. Sugar is much the same. Sugar is marketed towards you. You are the ones being targeted. If you look at the grocery store shelves, the sweetest items are right at eye level to the young people, slightly younger than you. But that's where it starts. And then it continues, because as I said, sugar is yummy. Now, in the 1700s, the average American ate 4 pounds of sugar. Is that not amazing? 4 pounds of sugar. As the slide shows, 2000s, you're eating an average of 180 pounds of sugar per year. Now, the body is an amazingly adaptable creature. We can handle a lot. We can abuse ourselves, and we survive it. But for how long? With 180 pounds of sugar that we're ingesting, it is only going to be so long before we end up getting sick. Not to mention, sugar is what causes you to gain weight. See, sometimes you have to reach down because we're always concerned about this outward appearance. I'm more concerned with inward appearance. Sugar is what makes you gain weight. Fat, saturated fat, is not what makes you gain weight, and it is not what causes heart disease. These are one of the common misconceptions, and this started way back in the 1950s, and it's only gotten worse. In fact, Time magazine, June of this year, on the cover, and this was like big news to me and anybody in the nutrition world, said saturated fat is not the enemy. Why the scientists were wrong. And that's absolutely true. Saturated fat is not what's making you fat. It is sugar. It is the carbohydrates. 180 pounds. So, to understand sugar and to understand what it does to the body, I think we have to get a little scientific on you, and I'm going to try to break it down for you. So we have insulin. Insulin is a hormone. It's designed to push nutrients into the cell. Then we have the glycemic index. The glycemic index is basically how fast does insulin respond after you ingest a given food. So if we eat sugar, sugar translates into glucose in our body, our blood sugar rises, insulin comes in to push them nutrients into the cell. The glycemic index is based on a 100 scale. So 100 is glucose. Glucose has a speed at which insulin will rise in your body. That's a 100 on the scale. So let's say water is a 0. Foods will fall somewhere in between there, depending on how fast they digest, turn into glucose, and raise your blood sugar. So when we talk sugar, we're not just talking that white powdery substance. Also have a very fast digestion rate, so your blood sugar will rise, insulin has to come in. Well, over time, what ends up happening is the cells start to become resistant to getting bombarded by these higher glycemic foods. So we ingest something like sugar, blood sugar rises, insulin comes in, pushes the nutrients into the cells. We're doing this time and time again all throughout the day, and what ends up happening is our cells start to become resistant to insulin. When our cells become resistant, our overall blood sugar starts to rise. When our blood sugar starts to rise, we start gaining weight. Typically, we first start seeing it around the belly. All right, this is the first outward manifestation of sugar. Interesting enough, sugar also destroys the collagen in your skin. So you will not be as beautiful as you are now if you continue to eat sugar, because it does. It gives us wrinkles. It removes all that stuff that keeps our skin soft and pliable. On the left, you see dysregulated blood sugar. You see a day filled with eating high glycemic foods. Blood sugar goes up, blood sugar comes down. When your blood sugar is at your lowest, this is when you get hungry, this is when you get tired, this is when you crave more sugar. So we eat our sugar, we get a temporary boost, blood sugar goes back up, and then it crashes back down. So we have this roller coaster ride of blood sugar. This is what wears on you. This is what causes this insulin resistance. On the right, we see what blood sugar should look like. When we're eating real foods, when we're staying away from processed foods, when we're staying away from all these sugary foods and soft drinks, it should be more rolling hills. This is what's going to keep you healthy. There is a study by a Harvard publication that says those who eat 25% of their calories from sugar are twice as likely to suffer a heart attack. Twice as likely. Now we're going to have a little demonstration earlier, and that's my bag of tricks over there. And we're going to learn a little bit about where all this sugar is coming from, and hopefully you will have a better understanding. Sugar is linked to over 70 different diseases in society, health implications. First and foremost, we know about diabetes. We know about heart disease. We know about cancer. It's very likely each and every one of you knows somebody who suffered from one of these health ailments and maybe even died from one of these health ailments. Diabetes, 29, and this is from 2009. The Centers for Disease Control reports that 29 million people in the United States have diabetes. Another 86 million people have prediabetes. That means their cells have become resistant and their blood sugar has risen to a point where they're very close to having diabetes. And 30% of those will eventually work their way up to the All-Star League and have diabetes. That's 115 million people, and it is costing us $235 billion in healthcare cost, all because we love the white stuff. Heart disease. If you are eating 25% of your calories, and I think I already spoke on this, if you are eating 25% of your calories from sugar and higher glycemic foods, you are twice as likely to suffer heart disease. Cancer. For a while, we've known, science has known, that sugar feeds cancer. So if you already have cancer, sugar is one of its primary sources of fuel to make it worse. What we are discovering now is that sugar and high blood sugar actually cause cancer. This is some of the newer research coming out. Sugar causes cancer. And I'm not really up here just trying to scare you, although I kind of am, right? Trust me, if you want to be beautiful and healthy and live forever and change the world, you have to change what you're eating first. ADHD. Anybody on meds for that? Don't raise your hand. So where is some of this, or most of this, sugar coming from? We have our breakfast, and we have our cereal, our breakfast cereal. Although the serving size is 1 ounce, or 1 cup, nobody really has 1 cup, right? So this is the sugar in 2 cups of cereal. Now, you're going to have that cereal, and of course, you're going to put in your skim milk. Right? As an aside with milk, like I said, saturated fat isn't the enemy, and fat in general is not the enemy. A study out of England in 2010 showed that children who drank skim milk were fatter and had less muscle tone than children who drank whole milk, who were thinner, leaner, and they had more muscle tone. So after that, are you thirsty? Right, we're going to have something after breakfast. We're going to have an Arizona iced tea because we're thirsty, right? 17 grams of sugar. That sounds bad, but there's actually 3 servings in here. So we'll add that to the mix. Now, if your diet looks like this, you have serious issues. You're laughing, but some of you, I know for a fact, some of you are eating like this, right? So we're going to have lunch, and we're going to have some macaroni and cheese, because everybody loves mac and cheese, honestly. I love this stuff. I don't eat it anymore, but I used to love this stuff. So we'll have some mac and cheese. That was lunch. How about a soda after lunch? Do you want a soda? Maybe some root beer? Everybody's favorite, right? Yeah, 74 grams of carbohydrates, of sugar. That was yummy. We haven't even gotten to dinner yet. I want some pasta. Nobody eats 1 cup of pasta, spaghetti. We eat about 2, right? That's typical serving, about 2 cups. So this is 2 cups of spaghetti. Yummy. We love spaghetti. And what is spaghetti without the sauce? So we'll add some sauce. So, oh my goodness, look at this. This is the actual amount of sugar that you would be ingesting if you were to eat these things based on serving size. All this sugar I've had, I'm kind of low on energy. So I'm going to need a Monster drink to bring my energy back up. As you can see, this would be a diet that includes about 50% of your calories coming from sugar. As we said, if you're ingesting just 25% of your calories, your risk of heart disease doubles. Not to mention diabetes. If you're eating like this, you're probably going to be a diabetic before you're 20. And people are becoming diabetics earlier and earlier. Oh, these juices. These things are fantastic. The fruit juice, it's 100% juice. This is good stuff. 21 grams of sugar. It's about 5 teaspoons of sugar, but it's fruit juice. Well, guess what? Here's the deal with fruit juice. If we were to have an orange, how many oranges would you eat? You'd probably eat 1 orange. You'd call it a day. You'd be like, oh, that's fantastic, I had an orange, right? If you were to have a glass of orange juice, 8-ounce glass of orange juice, you're eating about 5 oranges, all the sugar that's included with 5 oranges, and no fiber that comes with the pulp of actually eating an orange. And this goes for all fruit. So as you can see, we are ingesting way too much sugar. And like I said, I hope your diet doesn't look like that. We're going to move on. We're going to move to sleep. See, one thing you eat too much of, the next thing you don't get enough of. Okay? One thing we know is that sleep is definitely the most underrated component of health. We talk about hormones. When we don't sleep, our body, our adrenal glands elicit cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. Whether you are stressed out from work, from school, from basically anything, the response is going to be cortisol, and this includes sleep. Now, one thing we know is that usually, most people in this world, our wake-up time is set. So we don't change that. We have to wake up at a certain time every day. But one thing we can change is the time we go to bed. So what you need to stop doing is sitting up all night, texting, or playing your no-friendo. You need to shut it down a little earlier and get some more sleep. Short sleepers are 50% more likely. Short sleepers are people who get 6 hours of sleep or less. They're 50% more likely to suffer heart disease. Now, we're looking at these as individuals, looking at sugar, and we're also looking at sleep. But synergistically, when you are doing both of these things wrong, you're in a world of hurt. because it has a synergistic effect on health. Everything is interconnected to another thing. When you don't sleep, you are also very likely to get fatter. So short sleepers were 75% more likely to be obese. 75% more likely to be obese. I've had clients in the past, they've locked their nutrition in. They're eating a wholesome diet of real foods, and then they're like, I just can't lose my belly fat. I have no idea why I can't lose my belly fat. I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything you told me to, Paul. Why can't I lose my belly fat? I'm like, how you sleeping? They're like, Well, eventually, they work to correct their sleep habits. And guess what happens? Their belly fat goes away. They feel better. They look better. There's no more bags under their eyes. And more importantly, they reduce their risk of heart disease. They reduce their risk of diabetes. They reduce their risk of cancer. You can fix it. Go to bed. Go to bed. Go to bed. Go to bed earlier, and you will reap all the benefits. You'll feel better. Concentration improves. Concentration improves when you remove all this sugar from your diet. This is the wellness paradigm. So basically, everything you choose to put in your face, all the choices, all the decisions you make regarding your health will bring you one direction to the other. We're always talking about long-term goals, short-term goals, and that's all fine and dandy. But what really matters is what you're doing right now when you make that choice to eat something. Is it bringing you towards wellness? Or is that food choice bringing you towards sickness? So everything you do in life will bring you one direction or the other, towards wellness or towards sickness. This can also translate, since we're on the theme of justice, to wellness, to success. It can translate to happiness. Did you help somebody out today? Helping somebody else brings you towards happiness. Going to school, studying hard, you studied hard for that test. That act of studying hard towards that test brings you towards success. Filling out college applications. You want to get lazy one day and not do a damn thing? That brings you closer to failure. So every day you have to think about what you put in your face and what you're doing to better yourself. And this is the wellness paradigm. Again, it can be used for happiness. It can be used for success. Every day, do a little something to better yourself. That's all I have. Thank you.